I am so excited to share this three-part series on upper limits, the real reason you self-sabotage. This is such an important topic because we all do it in all areas of our lives. And once we can have a conscious awareness of what these patterns are, then we can actually shift them. And I'm going to be showing you how to do that in this three-part series. So part one today is all about self-sabotage, what self-sabotage actually is, why it kind of shows up in our experience. I'm going to give you some examples of how it shows up and how it might show up for you. We're going to look at your patterns of self-sabotage because we all have unique patterns and ways in which we sort of slow ourselves down, stop or stall ourselves. And I'm going to give you two tools that you can apply right now to begin to shift these patterns so you really can open up the flow that you're meant to open up for yourself in whatever area of life that is. So I really am looking forward to starting today with self-sabotage. So, self-sabotage. We hear this language all the time. Sabotage, self-sabotage. I'm sabotaging myself. I'm sabotaging my success or my progress. And it's a great language because it actually already shows that you have some awareness. But I want to help you open this up a little bit more and make it really, really conscious so that it's more than just this thing that you know that you're doing. In fact, it becomes something that you're so aware and you're so on top of that you can sort of stop it or nip it when it shows up and actually move through it so that it doesn't stop, slow you, or even shut you down, right? Which is a very common pattern of self-sabotage. So first of all, what is it? Really, it's a normal human behavior. And it shows up when we're pushing through something new, when we are gaining momentum, sometimes when we don't want to do things, but in my experience, most of the time, in my own experience and with the clients that I work with, it's often when we're pushing ourselves, right? When we're trying to do something next level, when we're going for a goal or a vision or just a next level version of ourselves, this is when it shows up for ourselves. Sometimes it shows up because it's a sign that we're not on the right path. But I'm not going to talk about that too much today. You can feel into that for yourself. It's really this pattern that it shows up to keep us safe because our mind, our subconscious, it doesn't really know what to expect on the other side of this new next level, right? It doesn't know what's going to happen when you reach this next income level. It doesn't know what happens when you are highly influential in the world and you have all these people and experiences and opportunities showing up in your life. It doesn't know what to do when you have just different things showing up in your experience that you haven't had before, right? And so it's designed to keep us safe and that we can think it and we can be aware of it, but we actually don't need to stay safe, right? We want to have some peace, I believe, in our moving forward. It doesn't have to be chaotic and dramatic, but safety is just designed really to keep us. It's very old programming and it's designed to kind of keep us where we are. And so really it just puts up your subconscious puts up these blocks or these, yeah, it's like a protection mechanism so that you actually don't move forward, so that you actually stay where you are. Also, it's something that happens to everyone and it's going to happen multiple times and it's going to happen in different areas of your life. So it's so good to be really conscious of this on a different level, right? We can know something and then we can know something. And that is my intention with this three-part series. So it will keep us at the same place. It will keep us doing the same things. It will keep us thinking the same thoughts, feeling the same feelings. And so really which is fine if that's what you want, right? It's okay, right? It's okay we don't always have to be moving forward. We don't always have to be creating change and all of that. Sometimes we just want to rest where we are. And so that's okay. But if you are in that place, you're probably not experiencing self-sabotage, right? It kind of shows up generally when we are as those things I mentioned at the beginning. And it also, I'm not going to talk too much about this today, but I do just want to highlight this. we kind of have this underlying blueprint, baseline set point that we've established for ourselves. Often it's in our younger years. It's not always, though. Sometimes it happens throughout our lives. And it kind of creates this set point around yeah, definitely around our beliefs, like what we think is possible for us, and what we think we're allowed to have, what we are able to receive, all of these things. Again, I'll be talking about that in other parts of this series. And so it's really when we're trying to push past these ceilings or upper limits, again, which I'll be sharing more about later, that this sabotage is going to show up. So that's a little bit of an overview of self-sabotage. Some examples of how it might show up for you could be if you are in business, perhaps you are maybe generating a lot of leads, bringing in new clients, new business, just really expanding what it is that you're doing. And then just all of a sudden you just are not responding to people. Even it can be really subtle things or kind of like mysterious things, like all of a sudden you lose their contact and you're not right. These are things you think that it's not about you, but it actually is sort of a self-sabotage thing that's sort of happening. So you're not responding to people, right? So then that kind of keeps you where you are, right? So you have all of these new people coming in, but you're all of a sudden not able to keep up with them, or you're not responding to them, or you just don't feel like it. Again, just so that we're clear, this is subconsciously driven. It's not your conscious mind. It could be that you're taking big steps out in the world in whatever area of your life. And then all of a sudden, right, you're really putting yourself out there. You're making bigger asks, you're bolder actions, you are just showing up in a bigger, brighter way of you. And then all of a sudden you don't feel so good, right? And maybe you need to recoup your energy, which is totally my pattern, or maybe you start to get a little bit sick, you don't feel so well. And so all of a sudden, that momentum that you had going slows down or sometimes even stops. And really, ultimately, obviously, when we do have flow momentum, that's actually when we need to step back into it. And so, this is really a lot of these are really, really sneaky. And I'm going to show you, and we're going to talk more and more over the series about this because it's one of my biggest passions and actually gifts, I think, when I work with clients is to help them spot these really sneaky, subtle, often hidden ways that we sabotage or have upper limits. And so, or another example could be that things are going along really well for you. And then all of a sudden it feels like your system is an overwhelm, right? It's like, I just can't handle this. This is too much, right? It could be too many good things. It could just feel like there's too much going on. And then you just shut down and you stop taking action. So these are just a few examples of self-sabotage, and they can be subtle or they can be huge, right? And really set you back. So it's so important to start to have awareness around what your patterns are, which we'll talk about in a moment. I am going to be diving deeper in part 2 in this series around 3 really common patterns around, it's more of like how we this is all internally, but some really unique ways in which we shut ourselves down. So I can't wait to share that. It's very eye-opening for a lot of people. But usually sabotage shows up as some version of shutting down, slowing down, procrastination, maybe anxiety kicking in, being self-critical or negative self-talk, lack of actions, your thought patterns don't feel very productive, you get sick, you don't respond, you shrink yourself. So some of the ones that I am continuing to work on for myself are around being protective of my energy. So often when I'm in a really good flow and things are moving along and I'm up leveling, it feels great. Then all of a sudden, like, oh, wait, I need some time for myself. I need to kind of because I'm an energy coach, right? I can justify this so easily, right? So it's so sneaky. Oh, I just need to recoup myself, fill my energy. And again, not to say that that's not true, right? If there are things that are coming up for you, perhaps you do need to do them. So, and for me, it's still a little bit of subtly shrinking myself. And this is a long-standing pattern that I've been working on, and I've shifted most of it, but I can see when I'm really pushing my next level, there is just this tendency to want to shrink just a little bit. And that shrinking may not stop my flow, but it will slow it down, right? It's like a little bit of a break that I put on. For me, I also, or if I get really, if I'm really pushing my upper limits and this again, we'll talk about it next one, more of a backlash thing, like a really dramatic sort of thing, I will start to question everything, right? What am I doing? Is this the right path? And right, this is all, maybe I should just give up, right? It can be really dramatic. And that is, depending if I catch it soon enough, right? I can stop it, but sometimes it can take me down a path. Or for me, and this is one I see with people all the time, I need more clarity. I can't take this action, or I can't move forward. Yeah, I just got to figure this out a little bit more, right? So these are some patterns. I just wanted to share a little bit of mine as well, just so you can understand a little bit of that, as well as some of these examples. And so just for a moment, I want you to feel into what resonated with you, right? Just to give yourself always, my intention with all of what I'm offering here is to not have this just be informational, but really applicable and really transformational for you. And in order for it to transform you, you do have to be an active participant in this, right? And so it really is, take a moment right now and just feel into, of the things that I said, what feels true for you? What happens to you when things are going really well, or you're pushing yourself into something new, or you have, yeah, in the past maybe you've been going for a goal or a vision, and maybe it was going really well and then it didn't go so well. So I just want you to feel into, what are the ways in which you basically shut yourself down, slowed yourself down, mm, just just did something that kind of shut down the progress of what you are doing. So just feel into this. And yeah, so that's just give yourself a moment. If you want to pause this, you can, just to give yourself this. But I'm really going to give you two tools to shift this. So if you have a piece of paper handy right now, I would grab it. And if not, you can come, you can do this later. But the first thing is to capture your patterns. So as I said earlier, we can know stuff. Oh yeah, I think I do this. Or maybe, yeah, I do self-sabotage, or whatever it is, right? We can have the lip service around it. But really, we want to get to the place where it's so like, oh, I so get this pattern. I'm so aware of what's happening. I always do this from, I forget whatever that that movie was, right? With Robert De Niro. um so that you're so on top of it, so when it shows up, you can then not be in it. You can actually be like, oh, I get what's happening here. Here's my patterns, right, showing up. So I would recommend having at least three, because we often have more than one. I just shared a bunch of the ones that I have, right, that have shown up for me. I would write down 3 to 10, right? Really, whatever we can make conscious, we can shift, right? Because when we're unconscious around it, or we are conscious in this moment, but we're not really conscious, right? As I just keep saying, it's going to happen. And then you're not going to be aware of it until after the fact, or until you're in it for a while. Really, my intention with this is to help you be like on it, so that you can catch it super quickly. So write them down, name them, call them out, so that there's no judgment. We all, literally, I have not met one person that doesn't have these patterns, right? And sometimes they are so subtle, and sometimes the bigger we go, the more dramatically they can impact us. So it doesn't matter where you are, what level you're at, what area of life, just so important for you to be aware, right? It could be, again, I'm not a dating pro, right? But it could be you're in a relationship, it's going really well, you've been looking for that ideal person to have in your experience, and then all of a sudden you do things that sort of turn them off, and right, or you push them away, or whatever it is, right? Again, so you kind of push away the thing that you want, right? So just be aware of that. And my strong recommendation is, I know this is going to sound funny and maybe not something you want to do, but write them down, but and then post them where you can see them, and maybe not, front and center where your guests can come in and see them, but some place where you are aware of what your patterns are, because when we're in it, we can't see it, right? And so if you have it in front of you, it's going to help to remind you what your patterns are. So that is just like a little bonus extra thing. I would really recommend doing that somewhere you have access to them. And then part two, or number two, in terms of the tools to shift this, and this could take, some time here. I'm just going to give you a couple minutes to think about it now, but It's really to come up with an action, a strategy, a commitment to counteract each of these patterns as you start to observe them showing up. So for example, if you're in flow and things are going really well, and then you start to get really stressed, maybe there's so many things going on that all of a sudden you don't, I say all of a sudden, but because it kind of happens like that, maybe you're someone who does do alignment practices and aligns yourself so that you can be in a really good state. And then when things start to go really well, or when you are in a sabotage pattern and you're feeling stressed, maybe you shut those practices down. So an action or a strategy could be like, oh, when I'm in this flow of momentum, I'm going to double down on my alignment practice. Or when I'm starting to feel this sabotage pattern of like overwhelm and stress and it's too much, right? I'm going to double down on my alignment practice, right? And so again, whatever that alignment practice is, there's lots of videos that I have here around this. It could be something like, I'm going to be really gentle with myself when this shows up because I know I'm moving to the next level. And again, this can sound like a simple, intangible strategy, but it's actually not, because what happens as we are moving forward, as we're in patterns of self-sabotage, generally what happens is there's a lot of negativity towards ourselves. We beat ourselves up. We get mad at the world, whatever it is. And so we're kind of in a pushing or pushing energy, right? And that is actually really stressful for us. And so being really gentle, right? So if you notice, okay, I'm getting sick right now because I have this big event to present at, or I've been offered this really cool opportunity and I haven't responded to them, right? And so instead of being like, what's the matter with me? Why, what's going on? Right. You can have this conscious awareness. Oh, I get it. I'm up leveling. I'm scared, or I don't know what's going to happen. And my subconscious is trying to protect me. So I'm actually going to be really gentle with myself versus self-critical. Right. So that's just another example. So maybe, again, things are going well, or right, you're making progress in different areas. And oh, sorry, I just lost my you're making progress, and you then all of a sudden start to feel overwhelmed, want to take a break, and you're not taking any actions. And so what can happen if we're not on top of that, you might shut yourself down for 2 weeks, and that's actually going to really impact you, right? So if you can see that, okay, I'm feeling like I'm shrinking, if I feel like I'm getting overwhelmed, if I feel like I need a break, instead of actually just like pushing through and shutting down and not doing anything, you can put something like, oh, I'm going to take a break from social media for the afternoon. I'm going to plan a day for myself next week, right? So it becomes, or I'm going to do the thing that I can feel myself shrinking around, right? So maybe it is a next level thing, right? Maybe you're speaking to 1,000 people in the smallest audience, or yeah, your normal audience is like 50 to 100, or maybe you are, yeah, anyway, just putting yourself out in a bigger way, and it's just something that you're not used to. You can do the thing and then make sure you have a reward system in place for you. And again, I'll talk about that in other videos, but there's such power in rewarding and celebrating and acknowledging yourself for doing the things that scare you, right? And so that can be your strategy, right? Do the thing, reward myself. I need a break, so not shut down, book a massage, right? I'm stressed, and I feel overwhelmed, I'm going to double down on my alignment practice. So these are all strategies that you can apply. They're actions. Again, they might not necessarily be actions in the outer world. I mean, generally they are, but they're things to help you kind of come back to yourself, really, ultimately. And it's really about making all of this conscious, and then you have a conscious choice of what you do versus an unconscious reaction. So I hope that you will take me up on actually doing these pieces, because I am going to dive in more deeply in part 2 and 3 around upper limits, around very subtle and sneaky ways that we can have patterns of sabotage, how to really spot them, and ultimately, most importantly, is how to move through them so that you can get through to your next level and version of yourself. Because really, I truly believe that's what we're all here for. So thanks so much for being here and watching this. Look forward to seeing you in part 2 and 3. Feel free to subscribe if this is resonating with you. And as always, if there are any comments that you'd like to leave below, I am happy to take a look and respond. So have a great week. Allow this just to, again, wash over you. Take what resonates with you, but apply it, really, because this is a game changer. This will change the trajectory of your life, your business, your career, your relationships, all of it. We'll talk to you soon.